That is, of course, Godzilla -1.
Yeah, and this wasn't even on my list until yesterday.
So you saw it.
Yes, and I wasn't able to see it in XD. I waited too long.
4DX.
4DX. I waited too long.
You did best not seeing it like that, I promise.
Maybe. You know what? I think you might be right. And if I have more time, this might be higher on my list. I watched it yesterday, and I was devastated by it.
Double Toasted Live in Los Angeles is going to be Saturday, April 27th for a night of comedy games and that after party.
But I thought that the way that we would do this today, Martin, because we have a lot of movies to go through, is I thought we would do your top 10 first,
Okay.
then mine, and then I'll do my top 10 of television, or top 5, sorry, and then your top 5
Okay.
of TV. Since there are so many things, I have like trailers, clips. Nothing I play will be spoilers. Anything I play here is either something heavily featured in the marketing and or just like a snippet within the first 5-10 minutes of the movie. So no worries about spoilers here. But let me pull up your number 10 movie, Martin.
We are here, listening.
So number 10 is A Haunting in Venice.
Yes. And it's rare that something that I don't see in the theater can end up in my top 10. But I missed the screening and finally got around to watching this because it's on Hulu. And man, could not believe how much I love this movie. And especially couldn't believe it because Kenneth Branagh's first two Hercule Poirot movies are not very good.
I was going to say I did not like the first one that I saw in this series.
Yeah. You see, Murder on the Orient Express, and
which is not very good at all.
Yeah. It feels tedious. Surprisingly, Death on the Nile is much worse.
Oh yeah.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Yeah. It's even by people who are big fans of Agatha Christie, they say that's one of her weakest books. So I had no faith that this was going to be good at all.
Yeah, I had totally written this off. Like I had no intentions to ever watch this.
Well, not only is it well written and well acted by just about everybody in the crew, it's got a mystery that kept me guessing for a while. But the biggest thing is cinematography. The cinematography and the color grading. I was just mesmerized by it. Everything is fisheye lens and Dutch angles.
So that's why you brought it up during Poor Things.
Yeah. But it's just wow. You talk about like a crew working together to say like, hey, let's take this classic mystery that maybe a lot of people know or can figure out, but let's just do all these things that keep you off guard the whole time. And I was just like, wow. I just watching, I was like, this could easily end up in my top 10. And it made it there.
Yeah, it did. That's an interesting choice because I didn't even see the movie. But now that you're saying that, I guess I got to check it out. Moving right along, the number 9 movie on your list.
Nobody. I also had that experience. Do you have a picture?
Dream Scenario. Number 9 on Martin's list. Tell me about it.
Where Nicolas Cage's character keeps popping up in people's dreams. And when you watch the full trailer, it looks like something odd and Charlie Kaufman-like and a little dark. But if you watch the full trailer, it also shows it being kind of whimsical.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I watched it last week.
Oh, you watched the movie?
Yeah.
And it goes to that place of whimsy and like, oh, you know what? This might be a feel-good story after all. And right as you think that, no, man, it turns way darker than it was before.
Yeah, and it goes to like one of those exaggerated like worlds a little bit, but it still found a way to feel grounded and be like another version of our reality because they implement things that just they're never going to exist, but they make it seem like it will.
Make it seem like it. Yeah, it does. It does take it makes you go, okay, it's not exactly our world, but for long it is, and it has something to say. I won't go into that, but you know, it definitely has a more of a message behind it. But it's a I won't say a fun ride because it starts as a fun ride and then it becomes not so fun, but that's what makes it enjoyable.
Honestly, I actually thought it was kind of fun just because it was so funny. It was making me laugh really hard, even though there were times where Nicolas Cage's character, I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
like, he was pissing me off. There were moments where I was like, "This doesn't feel true to the character almost," but then you start to see it's like, this is his deep inner workings, and just it shows you how he feels on the inside.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I'd give it probably like a high full price. I thought it
Same
was
here.
really fun, and maybe my favorite performance of Nicolas Cage.
Well, he's one of those actors that everybody loves, but they like to make fun of him because of the bad movies he's done. But every so often, and it's what you wait for. You wait for him to do something where he reminds you, like, oh yes, he actually is a very good actor.
Moving right along, Martin's number 8 movie. Let me see right here. I got to turn the sound
What's
on
your name?
every time.
Priscilla Boyer.
You like Elvis Presley?
I don't know if I like it.
What do you mean you don't know if you like it?
Well, Martin definitely liked it. Number 8, Priscilla.
Yes. And when everybody was going nuts over Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm not.
Yeah, I haven't seen either movie.
Well, this was almost like, we know what you want. And I was like, yes, this is much closer to the Elvis movie that I was thinking that I wanted. And it's not about Elvis per se. It's about Priscilla, his wife, but all about their romance and how they met when he was 21 or 22 and she was a 9th grader. I mean, it was always like, oh yeah, they got together when she was 14. You go like, oh yeah, well, he was young himself. But like to say 9th grade is like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, you throw high school in the mix, it gets weird real quick.
But it is a thing where you go, okay, it's Sofia Coppola, and she does make a lot of feminist leaning movies. And in the climate we're in, this is just going to be a big takedown of what a perv he was. And it's not. It really shows like, okay, yeah, it's certainly inappropriate, but the way they interact with each other, you're like, he was pretty childish himself. It was like his maturity level was not that far above hers. Her parents were on board with it. And just the interaction, it's a seduction, and like, I see how this could happen. I totally see how this could happen. And yeah, the biggest star in the world saying, I like to, have your daughter go out on a date with me. And you're like, how am I going to tell her no?
Yeah, you can't, especially at the time when that was accepted.
And, he didn't whisk her away. He came and talked to her parents. And this is not me like trying to be an Elvis apologist. I just thought it was interesting that it looked like a movie that's going to be a big takedown. It's like, it's really not. It's just showing, going through from Priscilla's book, how this went down. And Jacob Elordi, who, I never watched Euphoria, and I didn't know of him before watching him. I was like, man, this kid's the perfect Elvis. He's really pulling this off. It just has all these subtle tones to it. Not making it Elvis the icon, but Elvis the guy who is surrounded by buddies and living like a frat boy the whole time, where nobody's telling him no to anything.
It looks pretty good. I'm glad that it's on your list because it definitely seems like one of those movies, like you're saying, that it would have a lot of controversy around it and people be trying to take it down. But the thing is that it's based on history, so don't get mad at that. It's just how it went down. And just a side note on that, I think that people need to be less harsh on movies like that, because it's like, I know you hate that. Everyone does, when they show like an adult getting with a child. But the thing is, it's a movie. It's just a story.
There is that. That is just a movie.
Moving on to number 7, something that is on my list of movies, maybe in a different place, you'll have to see. But this is Martin's number 7. That is, of course, Godzilla -1.
Yeah, and this wasn't even on my list until yesterday.
So you saw it.
Yes, and I wasn't able to see it in XD. I waited too long.
4DX.
4DX. I waited too long.
You did best not seeing it like that, I promise.
Maybe. You know what? I think you might be right. And if I have more time, this might be higher on my list. I watched it yesterday, and I was devastated by it. I mean, honestly, emotionally, I got choked up 2 or 3 times. And this is a Godzilla movie that's not really about Godzilla.
No.
It's so much more of an indictment of the Japanese government. And I was like, oh yeah, Shin Godzilla did that. But no, this is like going back to World War II. It is interesting how much the characters in this don't even blame America as much as they blame the Japanese government.
Or themselves.
Yeah. Or themselves. I just found it very emotional. And then when Godzilla comes, it's not one of these where like, oh yeah, Godzilla shows up and he's all right. No, he's scary.
He is a true monster. And one of the things I loved about that is they're not trying to be like, oh, what is this creature? It's like, there's a dinosaur and he's scary.
Yeah. I love how when he first comes on, he's like maybe like 3 times the size of a T-Rex and then later grows to something that's like, we can't handle this. And they are put in a position where I'm like, I don't see any way out of this, you guys.
Yeah, this movie, if you hear the elevator pitch for it, it sounds like something. First of all, they would never make this in the United States. It's like someone going, let me tell you this story about a kamikaze pilot. It's like, no. Like written off immediately. But the story that they tell in here is really good. And even though it's pretty cheesy, there's some very circumstantial things that happen, it didn't bother me.
Well, because a lot of times a movie will do that and it won't earn it. It's just in there to have it. And yeah, I recognize the stuff that was cheesy, but I was like, you guys earned this. You went through the paces. You put me through it. It's okay.
Yeah.
I can let you have this. There's even like a great Avengers Endgame moment in it. I was just like, wow, you got me.
Yeah, they do a really good job of making you like these characters, and they develop them in a way where like you can see their camaraderie really grow and how they change over the course of the movie. And like you say, come together like the Avengers of taking down Godzilla, which is it's so bizarre. But I'm glad that we got it. I really can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah, and man, but Godzilla, you're just like, man, what do you want?
He wants a train, he wants the city, and he wants you.
It's funny to me how with these newer Godzillas in that first movie, I always complained that he barely shows up in it. It's like it's a Godzilla movie where he's a diva, and here was a movie where I didn't want him around.
It's like, man, can you get out of here?
Yeah, you just go do something else. Leave these people alone. They got enough going on.
Yeah, they do a good job of making him an oncoming threat. I mean, it reminds you of like classic Jaws. You know what I mean? It's just like when he shows up, he means business, and it's great. And we've talked about it a lot. Like the budget is $15 million, and it looks amazing.
It does.
It looks very good. All right, moving right along to Martin's number 6.
Ever since I was a child, people said my family was cursed.
Of course, the Iron Claw. I wanted to hear the beginning of that Tom Sawyer.
I know.
It's so good.
It is. Somebody said, hey, if you win this competition, what song do you want to walk out to? And I was like, oh, Tom Sawyer.
But yeah, I haven't gotten around to seeing this yet because, there's so many movies and I don't want to always go to the theater. I'm one of those people, I prefer to watch something at home just because I know there's no chances of anyone bothering me in any way. But Iron Claw is high on my list of movies that I want to see.
Yeah. As biopics go, it's one of the finest, taking you through years with this family. Something I mentioned that this had that Maestro didn't have is where I know as much about wrestling as I do about classical music, but it brought me into the world where I understood it, where I was like, I'm a part of this, I get it. and the acting from everyone is stellar, especially Zac Efron. Like he gets lost in that character. I didn't see him anymore.
I'm glad that he's had his comeuppance because I always thought, like, when I saw him at a young age, you know, you see him in like High School Musical, you're like, this guy's got some chops. Let's see if he'll live up to it. And then, you know, he did what's the Baywatch movie, and I was like,
Yeah, I know.
what are you doing?
Yeah, seeing him and stuff like that, you're like, all right, he's got to get a paycheck, and who knows, maybe this will take off in a way, and it doesn't. It was always one of those things with Ryan Reynolds. He was somebody that people liked, but he could never get a hit until he did Deadpool, and then every door opened for him after that.
Let's get into your number 5 movie.
9, 1.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that's just the incredible filmmaking in this is hard to deny.
It is.
Yeah, it's it's an experience, and it's one I saw in the theater, not necessarily IMAX. I think we saw
No, it was IMAX.
Was it IMAX?
It was one of those smaller IMAX screens, but I
Okay.
remember
Okay.
because it was
Okay.
me, you, and Corey. We saw it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. But yeah, it's just one of those movies where you go like, this is what it's for. And as much as Christopher Nolan had some movies recently where you're like, well, I don't know about this and I don't know about him.
Yeah, Tenet was a huge miss.
Right. Yeah, it was a huge miss. But you come back to this, he goes like, oh yeah, no, this guy, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
And
he has the chops.
he's got the chops. His argument for doing things on film, being practical, using IMAX, it's all right here.
Yeah. My favorite thing about the movie is how he used practical effects to show what he was thinking about. And I thought that it was so vivid and accurate to reality, you know, just like those shapes and like those lines across. I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah. And it's just, there's just so much in it.
Oh, yeah.
There's so
long.
much. I mean, besides it being, it's not long for the sake of being long, but there's just so much there. That, so many scenes, so much to process, so much like, wow, that's amazing. And it's almost like there's so much that happens at the beginning that it's hard to bring it back to you in your brain by the time you're toward the end. Yeah, people are talking about, maybe something for Robert Downey Jr. in this.
Oh, yeah, for Oscar?
For Oscar, yeah.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, I could totally see that. I paused it here. This was one of my favorite parts in the movie, the Safdie brother who showed up.
Yeah.
With all that sunscreen on his face. I think that, the thing that made this awesome was just the characters.
Yeah.
Like, they're so good because this is a lot of people in rooms just talking. And there's that one big money shot that everyone knows, but man, it's incredible. It shows how good Christopher Nolan is at directing. And I mean, even though I didn't like Tenet, I never saw this and thought, man, that's gonna suck. It's like there's gonna be like there was stuff in it where I was like, there's going to be some amazing visuals no matter what, because I know that he's a big fan of practical effects, as he should be.
My only negative was that the female roles were weak.
Oh, yeah, they were. All right, but now getting into Martin's number 4, if it'll pop up.
Doesn't seem to matter what I do, but I'll sleep alone tonight, 'cause I'm just kidding.
And you're Jess Martin. Number 4 is Barbie. Great movie.
Yeah, and no reason the word "great" should be attached to it, but it is. And it's funny how when we played the trailer, Billy and I were both like, "This looks like shit."
Really, just no faith in it.
Just no faith whatsoever. And then to watch it, it's like, all right, this is a quality production. Oh my God, it's funny. Oh my God, it's smart. Oh my God, it has so much to say. These performers are putting 110% in something that should just be a tax write-off. And you get why. Like, it's rare something that plays so well to the mass in large. I mean, everyone in mass can be that good. Usually, it has to be dumbed down for everybody to be on board with it, but it wasn't, and it begged for a repeat viewing. And it's really tight. You can go to see something that you think is going to be good, and when it's good, hey, it hits the dopamine and you're happy. But when something you aren't expecting is good, it's like triple points. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And this was that.
Yeah, I thought that it was a really inspired comedy with some excellent songs. And I just thought that it was so smart.
Yeah.
Like this movie about a toy, this advertisement for toys is brilliant. You know, never would have thought that this movie would give the Lego movie a run for its money.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I couldn't tell you which one I think is the superior film. I think they have similarities, but they both have their own voice and they do an excellent job with what they're trying to tell.
Yeah. And Ryan Gosling, my God.
He is amazing.
He is. It's like, you know, you didn't have to do all this, but appreciate that you did.
He's telling you right now, please, Martin, I did it for you. Please, please. But I agree. I think that Barbie is a super fun movie, and it's something that is for all ages, truly. And it's something that, depending on where you are in life, you'll get something different out of it.
Yeah. Although I have heard of some moms coming back angry. I took my daughter to see that, and that was not appropriate for her.
I knew that was going to happen the second I saw it.
But I'm like, it actually is. It's just you're not aware.
Yeah, you just weren't ready for that conversation. Sucks to suck, okay, Mom? But that being, it's funny you mentioned that. I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you said that, I'll say it. I hit up my parents about this because my sister, over the holidays, she showed this movie to my mom and dad. My parents were just like, nah, don't like it. And the thing is my parents, they don't like when stuff is surreal, you know, when it gets weird. And I was like, come on, like, because my mom always took me to musicals growing up. You know, I love musical theater. And I was like, what about that song, I'm Just Ken? And she was just like, nah, didn't do it for me. I was surprised. And what it got down to was on stage, my mom would have loved this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it would have worked for someone who's old school like that.
Yeah.
But for her seeing this in a movie like where they're going in between worlds, it's like, all right, this is a cartoon. Like, it ain't happening. Like, the idea of my parents watching something animated, it's like, it's unfathomable.
Yeah, I know. There is that certain generation where they're like, no.
Cartoons? Yeah, I'm not a child.
Yeah, exactly. No, my mom hated Barbie. And I asked her about it, and it turns out she hates Barbie just because everybody was talking about it. She's never seen it. She's just like, Barbie, I'm just so sick of Barbie this and Barbie that, and everybody's talking about it. And did you even see it? I was like, yeah, Mom. She's like, you liked it, didn't you? I was like, yeah. Yeah, Mom, it's actually really good.
It's always the best when someone gets mad at you for liking something, especially when it's great like that.
She was like, okay, fine, I'll shut up about it.
Well, if you're right, I guess. But yeah, it's a wonderful movie, and I'm very curious to see how it's going to do at the Oscars.
I am too, because the Oscars, they reward art, but they also reward something that's extremely commercial.
Yeah.
And nobody can deny how commercially successful this was.
Yeah, and it's also just, it falls in that category of being very weird. But as we saw last year, you know, with Everywhere and Everything All at Once, that was nominated and won a ton of awards. Yeah. So maybe they're finally coming around, you know, and just giving the movies their due, no matter how weird they might be.
I mean, look, a lot of times they want to appeal to the masses to get more viewers and to younger people.
That's true.
And so this clicks those boxes.
And moving right along, we're getting into your top three. So this is Martin's number 3 movie of the year.
Book. What really struck me was that too few books were about my people.
Yo, Sharonda, girl, you be pregnant again?
Martin Thomas, the movie.
I admit to being biased on this one. But just right there, just his eyebrow and his expressions, I was like, oh, that mirrors me so perfectly.
You mean that expression right there?
Yeah, the one earlier when she started reading, his eyebrow went up like, oh, shit.
So that's what's making money? Okay.
Oh, that's so sad.
I haven't gotten around to seeing this one yet, but it's high on my list of movies that I want to watch.
You do. I hope you do. I absolutely adore this movie. I've watched it 2 or 3 times since I had the opportunity to. And I love it each time. fantastic acting. Not just by, I mean, one, I'm excited for Jeffrey Wright to get finally the leading role in something since Basquiat.
He's always so good.
Yeah,
I remember loving him in Westworld even. I was like, you are holding this together.
Yeah. There's no thing you've seen him in where you thought, that guy wasn't really pulling his weight. But just, the story is intriguing and funny on its own, but also the entire cast. It's a great ensemble. Excuse me, throughout the movie, and so incredibly rewatchable. Like I said, I watched it 2.5 times already, and I'll probably watch it again.
Martin's number 2 movie.
Money flows freely here now.
I do love that money, sir.
Killers of the Flower Moon. So tell me, why did you love it so much?
Okay, first thing you got to get out of your head, not you personally, but anyone, is like 3.5 hours. That's so long. Listen, with a great piece of art, it's worth it to sit there for the 3.5 hours.
I mean, Scorsese, the man knows how to use a camera and tell a story
he does.
And trim every tiny bit of fat.
That's the thing. There was never a point of it lagging and going like, did we really need that? All of it felt important to the story. That's why the argument of there needs to be an intermission, it's like, there wasn't a good place to break this and have the flow of it, interrupted. And as Corey pointed out, it's like Goodfellas where the criminals are mentally not challenged, but just they're not smart.
They're stupid.
They're a lot of them are idiots.
They're street smart, but they're just kind of.
I wouldn't even say that. So I'm not calling them street smart, but they are, because they are white men. They have an advantage over the Osage people, and it's a tragic story. Just so much betrayal that goes on, and just how dastardly the whole thing is. And an interesting thing that Scorsese did, because the book, it doesn't focus on the people. It talks about this whole thing, this whole incident that went down, this massacre, this slow massacre, but it's all from the point of view of the lawmen. And the book is all about the formation of the FBI over this. But he kind of looked at it all, read through it, and said, like, I don't want to tell this story from the point of the white guys. So it goes into you getting to know the Native Americans and these people who preyed on them. And with DiCaprio's character, you have hope that he's not the scumbag that he really is.
Yeah, he looks shady right there. Right.
But he's so not smart that you think you just have some kind of hope. And him and his wife, played by Lily Gladstone, who's a real treasure, a find. They have this relationship where you kind of like it and you want it to be the thing, but it's not. And he's got a very interesting way of ending this. And it's the kind of thing where I thought some people might not be down with what he did here. It's very experimental. Okay. So far, everyone I talked to liked it. And it kind of plays back into the book itself. But just watch it the whole time. I was like, yeah, this is easily maybe the best movie I've seen this year.
I wanted to, honestly, I knew that it was going to be on your list, and I was trying to, have some different things on my list, because I knew that if I watched like The Iron Claw and I watched this movie, I knew that they would go on my list, and I definitely want to see them, but I didn't have 3.5 hours to watch it.
I get it.
But I do want to see it.
I had the dedicated time, and yeah, it was just one. It was one where you go like, come on, 3.5 hours, you didn't have to pee. Yeah, I did, but I held it. It really wasn't that hard. And if you feel like you can't, just zip to the bathroom, come right back as quickly as you can.
And it's online, so you can just catch it. So you can see what you missed. But
like with Christopher Nolan, it's like you, as a director, you're watching a master at work. You're like, this is what movies are supposed to be. We got a lot of movies that are just made.
Yeah.
But this is crafted.
All right, and drum roll. This is Martin Thomas's number 1 movie of 2023.
This is Bella.
Bella.
Take that, number 1 right in your face. But of course, Poor Things, one of my favorite movies of the year as well. We talked about it last week. It's wonderful. I totally get why you have it here.
Yeah, it was not even on my list until when I saw it last week, and then I was like, oh shit, this is my favorite movie.
Yeah,
that's funny to be a movie that people are like, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna like it. It might be too weird.
That's the thing. Is like that's why I didn't want to watch any more movies because I was like, I like my list the way it is.
I know. Yeah, same here. I was just like, let me just have this list. And it was like, well, everybody's talking about Poor Things. I guess I have to watch it. Let's just get this over with. It was like, oh, shit. I'm completely enwrapped by this movie. I'm enthralled. And it's very much man, I wish they'd do something new. They're never that creative. I wish somebody would just break out and give me something I haven't seen. And it's like, oh, well, I'll shut my mouth.
There it is.
There it is. And yeah, as much as we, relate it to other things, that just kind of gives you, something of a reference point. But wow, what a ride this was.
Yeah, I mean, we've said everything.
We've said everything there's to say, but
yeah. Definitely, with that being said, definitely go check out the review that we posted on YouTube for Poor Things. It is a wonderful movie. I loved it so much. It's one of the rare movies that I could see myself actually getting a physical copy of because I rarely do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because everything is just digital and we can just rent it like that. But
Julian, I'm telling you, man, everything is not digital. And some things are digital and then they aren't.
That's true.
And sometimes you go like, oh, I can watch it on this pay service, and then you stop paying for that service and it's not available to you anymore.
But if you go to the high seas, and you put it on your eye patch, some stuff that gets leaked out there, it's forever there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It depends, but I see what you're saying. If you want to be a good citizen and watch things on your television, then I can see what you're saying.
Sometimes when I'm on the high seas, I find things, but they aren't of the best quality.
That is true. That is true. But this one should be seen in 4K as clear as possible. I think that it's a wonderful movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, and you want to see a Frankenstein movie that is just batshit, here you go. It's wonderful, but solid top 10. Really liked it. Let me pull up really quick.